Today we are going to convert a Harbor Freight lantern into a 40 Hz Therapeutic Gamma Lamp. The tools and materials needed are a Harbor Freight lantern, wire cutters, needle nose pliers, a small Phillips head screwdriver, solder and a soldering iron, a scrap of wire, and a microcontroller circuit board. Start by removing the battery cover, then remove the batteries. Remove the 4 Phillips head screws and place them in the battery cover for safekeeping. The battery box slides out the bottom of the lantern. It is attached to the lantern with 2 wires. Find the switch mounted on one side of the battery box. Note which direction the switch lever is pointing. You will need to install the switch with the lever pointing the same direction on reassembly. Remove the switch from its holder. Unsolder the red wire from the positive end of the battery box. Touch up the end of the red wire with the soldering iron. This will make it easier to reassemble things later. Unsolder the red wire from the lantern where it attaches to the switch. Again, touch up the end of the wire. Unsolder the blue wire from the negative end of the battery box. Touch up the end of the wire. Set the lantern aside. Find the switch mount on the battery box. Align the side of the circuit board with switch 1, switch 2 terminals towards the switch mount. Bend the battery box terminals up slightly and slide the circuit board underneath the terminals. Bend the terminals flat against the circuit board solder pads. Solder all 4 battery terminals to the circuit board. Find the switch and the scrap of wire. Strip one end of the wire. Measure and cut the wire so that it is just a bit longer than the red wire attached to the switch. Strip the other end of the wire. Use the needle nose pliers to bend a hook into one end of the wire. Attach the wire to the outside terminal opposite the red wire terminal. The switch middle terminal is not used. Crimp the wire so it will stay in place while you solder it. Solder the wire to your switch. Check the solder joint. Oops. Try it again. That's better. Install the switch. Make sure the lever is facing the positive terminal of the battery box. Connect the wires to the switch 1 and switch 2 terminals. It does not matter which wire goes to which terminal. Solder the wires in place. Check the connections and touch them up if needed. Press the wires flat against the board and the side of the battery box to ensure they do not interfere with the operation of the switch. Take the lantern and attach its red and blue wires to the circuit board terminals labeled red and blue. Solder the wires to the circuit board and check the connections. Look inside the bottom of the lantern and find the spring. You will need to line up the spring with the switch. Carefully open the lantern and draw the red and blue wires inside. Line up the switch and the spring and reinstall the battery box in the bottom of the lantern. Hold the battery box in place and slowly close the lantern. Listen for the distinctive click of the switch. Place 2 screws in the battery box. Install the batteries. Open the lamp and wait 2 or 3 seconds. The LED should start to flash. Close the lantern and see if the lantern shuts off. Check it again. If everything looks good, install the last 2 screws. Screw on the battery box cover and do a final check for proper operation. Congratulations, you're done.